January is the police academy in Milwaukee.
That's kind of up in the air.
He said I think he said he just got clearance from the federales. He might have said he's waiting to get it, expecting it. February is Johnson Wax. That is in Racine. And at that one we will be viewing the multimedia program that they brought in from New York, purchased and brought in. That should be very interesting. They have a fantastic facility for multimedia. March is tentatively Avonics. They would like to have their chance at talking to us, particularly about editing, videotape editing. And then in April, he's tentatively thinking in terms of Lakeshore Technical Institute.
No, Gateway.
Is it Gateway? In Kenosha?
Yeah. Ah. That's the last.
New equipment?
Right.
Yeah, they're supposed to be getting some new equipment in down there.
Right, that's GTA.
Ah. So that one will be in Kenosha. So that's what we'll be doing in the next 4 months. I got a letter from Herb Wolf, the vice president, dealing with the membership drive. The battle of the giants continues, but there's a change in the standings. New York has gained 19 people, San Francisco has gained 17, Houston 15, Chicago 14. Percent gains, Houston is at the top there with 125%. I'll pass that around so you can.
Doesn't list Milwaukee at all?
It does say that Milwaukee picked up 1.
We have 6 new
According to
members.
our information between Sue and I, we should have at least 6 right now.
3 haven't come through yet, and 3 did.
It takes so long.
The National's been informed.
It takes so long for them to process through that.
But that would put us in the standings
We
then,
should
wouldn't
maybe,
it?
write them a note and say, hey, these are new members that we have.
Could you make a
But
note?
still,
Could you make a note that we want to write Milwaukee, write the National?
you want it on the letter too? So
Yeah,
that you,
that's a good idea.
And you can get the names from Sue. She's got a couple on that
Okay.
labels besides the 3 from David.
We've got another newsletter from Philadelphia I'll pass around. And I've got minutes from the Executive Council meeting that was held at the Statler Hilton on October 11th. I don't believe those have been passed around yet. Have you all seen those yet?
You weren't there?
I couldn't make that one. And I can't make the one they're going to have at Anaheim. Just couldn't afford it, that's all.
Should have made that comment about Joe was still here.
Yes. The Executive Council is having another meeting on January 13th at the Sheraton Anaheim Hotel in California. And that's about all the news I've received from the National. Sue, do you have any comments to add?
she
Joy?
said we've got the stationery.
Oh! Yeah, I want to show our stationery now.
If anybody needs any to write for any reason, contact Joy. She'll have it all.
Once I get it out of Sue's car.
This is the new stationery. I'll pass this around so you can see. Came out very nice. Joy, do you have anything to add?
No.
Bob?
Except that people should perhaps be thinking about the videotape competition and the convention coming up. in March.
When's the convention's in March? Yeah. When's the
It should be right after
competition?
the first year. We should be getting some information very shortly on the competition.
Yeah, that was in the newsletter, something about that.
The recent one?
I thought it was.
Yes.
They mentioned something about we
Our
will be
newsletter, you mean?
receiving. I thought it was
No, I
the
think it was-
national.
I read it too. It's charge of $10, and with that $10, you can enter 2 videotapes.
Yeah, we put that in our newsletter too, that was.
Okay, but they said the information will be coming, and all of this mentioned.
We should be hearing about that shortly. And are we going to be involved in doing some judging for the region?
I haven't heard anything.
How did that come about last time? They contacted you?
Yeah, the competition chairman, this year's Terry Baxter, would contact whoever he wanted to act as a regional chairman. Last year it was in Chicago, the year before that, I was contacted. So unless one of us here is like.
Yeah, okay. Any other business? Okay, well, let's move forward here. You can cut the tape. So, 2 candles and a flashlight. So in my mind, it's kind of difficult in applying some of this knowledge, or some of this information that we're passing on here. Feel free to ask questions and bring up any points, any comments that you have, particularly if in talking in terms of application of lighting in your area. Marilyn attended the Ianarmo Ferrantini thing a month ago, a couple months ago.
Yeah, a few months ago.
Bob, you've done it too.
A couple years back.
And
Jim was there. Oh, sorry. I know Jim Fowler was there.
you're trying to figure out why you're in it now. That workshop is fairly expensive workshop, like $300, I think, if you're forking out for the whole day. And it's professional commercial television lighting person. Every once in a while you see him on a credit roll for a special show, like the Julie Andrews shows and things like that. He has some rather offbeat comments about lighting, and I think they're important, and they're probably important when you start talking about lighting. One of the comments that Marilyn told me about that I thought was rather interesting was to, when you have a light meter, glue the light meter needle to 150-foot candles, or whatever it usually is supposed to be. In other words, make it non-operational. He doesn't believe in light meters, is what it gets to.
But he believes
Wait.
more in the concept that if it looks good on the monitor,
Right.
that's good enough.
Yeah, he says you can't really ignore the light meter, but you don't want to depend on it too much. Like, for instance, if you were setting lights, you have the backlight, the fill light, and the key light, and say you needed 200-foot candles of light, well, you probably just check your key light and make sure it's 170, that's most of it, and then just sort of forget about it after that. And your other lights, when you turn them on, will fill it in, and it'll be 200. And so you don't have to measure each light and make sure that it's a ratio of this light or that light. You pretty much just go by what the subject matter is.
How,
What you think
how
looks
does he
good.
recommend using the light meter? Is it just as
Okay,
a
well,
general guide, but
Right, yeah. Say if you were going to set a key, what you would do is you would spot the light where you want it, make sure it's centered where you want it. Then you would measure it. Say it would come up to 170. And then you would spread it and, spread your barn doors. And then that would be it for the key.
I see. I think that's a good idea. Quite a few people, I think, get carried away with the light meters and all that. And I think the same is true with the light instruments in general. The instrument, any light instrument would work in just about any application that you have in videotape. And the fact that we've got these connected to a fairly substantial light grid and a dimmer system does not mean that you couldn't use a light like this out when you're doing a one-camera, black and white, portable type of video recording. The thing that I've found that's important with lighting is that it helps the quality of the picture. The more light, I don't want to say the more light the better, because obviously there's a point where you're going to dehydrate the talent. But some lighting is of benefit, the quality of your video image. That's an important factor. Let's go through some of the stuff that we have here and let's talk about it. We have essentially 3 different types of lights in the studio here. And 2 of them are the same type of light, except it's in different sizes. I'm referring to the Fresnels right down here on the end behind Maryland. They are essentially the same types of instruments. They are focusable types of instruments. You can adjust the light inside it. I will do that. I'll kill myself first. That's how you open these front. Cut. Actually, we're let's just pull off the barn door. Put it on. We're taping this. Another reason we're taping this is we're going to make a training tape on this type of thing for our students, and this is kind of a rehearsal practice type of thing. We use C-clamps. That's what this is up here, and you'll see that on most of the lights that we have. And you can see how they work in the light grid. They clamp on the bar, and they call them a C-clamp because they're like a C. I was talking about being able to focus the light here. If you can see inside, the light isn't moving. Mark, you gave me a rotten light.
He did that first. It comes apart like this.
Well, there's a little handle there. The light, the lamp itself, moves forward and backwards is what the point I'm trying to get to. And that's what the crank is used for. The same holds true with the scoop here. In this case, it's a forward and backwards movement like this, and in this case, you have a light standing upright. The lamp, rather. I have a hard time remembering to call it lamps and instruments and light. So this is a focusable light. The lens, you notice on the front, is a cut glass type of a lens, so that this affects the light coming out, obviously, in a way different than this scoop does. Now let me show you the scoop. I think I'll see if I can get it to crank. Can you see it? Doing something? Okay, the Fresnel is just about the same, except the light is up, straight up and down. The lights on the bottom have a indication of whether or not you're flooded or you're spotted. The yellow bar tells you approximately where it is. All the way forward, as the lamp is right now, is flooded, and all the way back here is spotted. Okay. Any questions? What are we talking about as far as cost? Cost for the infrared? Yeah. I think it's a couple hundred each. That these. Does that sound familiar?
The scoop light, would you use more for a fill light?
Yeah.
Than with the Fresnel one?
Right. The Fresnels, these are both Fresnels,
Right.
are primarily used for spot key lighting, spotting certain areas. And obviously you can't, the focus on the scoop is not as clean and gives you a broader spread of light than a Fresnel.
The shadows wouldn't be good on the scoop either, would it?
That's
Brown?
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got a Century Strand catalog.
I have 2 lights.
I'm trying to remember it. The barn doors I know run about $34, $35.
Oh, you start with your barn door.
The lamps themselves run about 10.
Oh, they're up to about 16 now, last time.
Oh, that's just the extras. That's a good point. The lamp, the instrument right here doesn't usually come with a C-clamp. You have to order that extra. It doesn't come with the barn doors. That also has to be ordered extra. Gel holders, got some of those in the front. Those have to be ordered extra. Ordering lighting instruments is a lot like ordering one of those color porta-packs. You get a camera and a VTR, but nothing else with it unless you ask for it, the optional item. Okay, the barn doors. You can see what they do. If you have a light coming out of this area, you're capable of pinning it down. The barn doors have wing nuts on them so they can be tightened or loosened up. They can also be turned. The light itself can be, this sits in the light and it can be, the instrument, it can be turned. I just got hit by a greenhouse bug.
Well, one thing I might mention too, in this conference that I was at, the man that was running the conference greatly recommended aluminum foil, which would be a cheap thing to do, but you could, if you just had a light and not the barn doors, you could just take some aluminum foil and, you know, bring it around it and put it any direction you want, you know, flare it out or whatever, and that's a lot cheaper than buying a barn door. So he recommended Reynolds wrap. Thought I might bring that up, because it is an idea. Might work.
I think at that conference too, though, they also suggested ways that you can inexpensively approach your lighting problems, where you don't have to go into this. They demonstrated some inexpensive bud lamp that you could buy at the hardware store with a C-clamp type of a bracket that you could attach to a door or a chair or something like that. And they approached it at all angles. Some of those are closer to what we're looking for.
Yeah, I know that. Well, the other day, we even do that. The other day, we were doing a one-camera black and white videotape recording of puppets, and they had a little stage built. We took the engineering lamp, you know, with the hook on it, used that for light. Any light will work. You don't have to, obviously you don't have to go to this level or that level. Okay, the barn doors slip right in. And the same is true for the rest of the instruments. This smaller Fresnel does not have a crank, but has a knob right here on the bottom that is loosened and then slid forward or backward. I'll attempt to show you that. And this is a little bit more difficult to do. But once again, that's how you focus. This is an ellipsoidal. Do we have the ellipsoidal?
Yeah, it's
with
right
a
across
pattern
your
in it?
face.
Without a pattern?
It has a pattern.
Okay.
Look behind you.
It's got the red one on it.
Oh. Well, why don't we bring down the other lights and you can get an idea what the pattern looks like. Better do that for me, Mark? What? Never mind, now we'll do it. This red light straight up here is one of these. That's fine. And what that thing is capable of doing is projecting a pattern for you. And this is an example of a pattern that we have in this particular one. And it slides right in on top. Now the ellipsoidal also has another nice feature, and that is an internal barn door system, I guess you could call it. These slots on the side and on the top, and there's one on the bottom, will actually go over the this area right in here with a metal plate and actually cover up sections of it that you want. You can also attach barn doors to it and also bring your light in tighter. This is also a, you can also focus this instrument by moving the lens of it backwards and forwards. And it does actually look like a lens. Oh. I don't know if you can see. You're going to have to get a little closer to see that.
Take the pattern out.
Oh, that's a good idea. This one right there is the one that I was moving. And an interesting thing here is the bulb is upside down. It's coming down from the top, and we've got a broken glass reflective mirror surface in the back. Okay, the ellipsoidal. This is referred to as a broad. Why don't you turn those other lights back on? This gives you general lighting. As you can see, there's little or no focusing that can be done. Barn doors help close down the lighting a little bit if you need to do that. I've used these types of lights on several, a variety of things. They come in very handy. If you are anticipating purchase of lighting instruments, this is an excellent place to start. This size light. There's several lighting kits that are available that can give you a full complement of this type of lighting. Over here is our scoop. Obviously, it's called a scoop because it looks like a scoop. This has a crank on the back and is a semi-focusable scoop, I guess you could say. We have other scoops up in the ceiling that are non-focusable, that do not have a crank on. Now all of these larger instruments, not this one, although no, I don't think they can take a gel. We've tried gels in these before. We made our own gel holders, and the gels just burn up, even though it's the Mylar gel. I am not real certain on application of gels for lighting. Primarily what I use gels for in my production work is for backgrounds, highlighting. Right now we've got a little blue and some red on our scrim back here, which, there's a little more. What did Nirmo say about gels? When to gel and when not to gel?
He didn't really go into that too much. I remember he did say something about using an amber gel when we were doing some chroma key stuff to kind of get rid of the bluishness and something, I don't know what.
Oh, the tearing. I don't know what that term means, but I heard it this morning. The one with keying. I guess the rough edges around the edge.
Yeah.
That
Kind of
different, that other colored gel will, you know, make that less noticeable.
Mhm.
I didn't know that. That's good. But usually they don't suggest gelling people.
Mainly backgrounds are set. Yeah, if
You
try
want
to
white
create
light.
mood.
Yeah, for mood, dramatically.
Another place you could use gels are, let's say you have white letters for graphics, apply a gel to that graphics to give red letters, blue letters.
Cheap and dirty colorizer.
Right, and if you don't have the hue control on your, special effects in there.
Yeah, Wayne did that, and it really knocked me out when he did it. I should have expected, that Wayne would do something. But he came out here and put together a production in white letters with color light. Make the letters become different. It's the same principle as the scrim back here. You can put any light you want. If you look on the monitor now, What you see with your eyes doesn't look like a great deal, but I mean, it looks like a circus if you look on the monitor, because we've got blue and red lights and a pattern. What your eyes see and what the color cameras see are two different things. They really are.
I might mention too about the patterns. You can make those yourself too. You wouldn't have to have something like that, because a lot of times what they do is you just, well, get something like that, or get a piece of cardboard or cut a design and just hang it up in front of a light and project it behind somebody. You can do that. It's expensive.
I heard somebody, you could use aluminum foil for this, punch your own pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Did you tell me somebody else?
We did it in one of the shows.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was for, but we made a special pattern for one show.
And you can also purchase all sorts of different patterns, obviously. The theater has cloud patterns, fire escape patterns, all this type of stuff. Well, I was going to point out that this is gel holder. Slips in like this. On the barn doors, the gel fits in between the light and the front of the light and the barn doors. And here's some smaller gel holders you can see for the Fresnels. We also have strip lighting. This is an example of a strip light, and the one that we have back here in the background is also an example of strip light. That one is gelled. Oh, thank you. Did you do that?
Circuit breakers.
Oh, the circuit. Okay. We have strip lighting in the ceiling also for two important things here in the studio. The engineering charts behind you are set up to be lit off the one strip light that's right about in you, right about above you. Don't shoot the light. The other strip light right up here, oh, thank you. The other strip light, you want to hit the chroma key light?
There you go.
Is for a chroma key wall. It's measured to come off the wall at 50 foot candles. Now, we needed that particular number of foot candles to get a good key, so we're bouncing the light off the ceiling onto the chroma key blue wall, which is behind Care. The
I think you're just
an interesting thing here to keep in mind is the idea of bouncing light. I do that quite a bit myself, particularly when you have instruments like this. When you're using them straight on, they're fairly harsh, and they make fairly harsh shadows. If you've got a white ceiling that's not too high, you bounce the light off the ceiling, and it spreads out all over. The same type of thing can be accomplished with diffusion. This fits over those strip lights up there. You can also put in spun glass filters.
You can use screen too, just like window screen.
Window screen, yeah, that was the other thing. that we could use. Any questions? One of the things that becomes necessary when you're working with lights, particularly hanging them, is safety devices, obviously. It's a constant problem that we have here in this shop because there's so many people who do lighting. We may have 30 people working, students working in the area. Maybe 10 of them will do lighting in any one semester, and you can imagine one of those lights falling on someone's head. Another item that we have up there, another optional item, is the pantograph. Right above Maryland there's one. Allows you to bring the light down a little closer, closer to the ground, move the shadows around a bit on people's face. You also need assorted other goodies when you get involved with this type of lighting. Extension cords. Do we have any adapters? Adapter cords, so you can go from these are twist lock, all of these, so you can go from twist lock to regular 3-prong. Things like gloves, I would recommend gloves if you get into a few of these types of instruments too, because they do get hot awfully fast. And since we've got C-clamps and the other arrangements on these lights, you need to have a wrench of some sort. I think that's essentially, I want to talk a little bit about this if any of you are interested. The wine is here.
I'm interested.
Yeah, we're just into wine.
Pigtails.
They, ripped off the...
Yeah, I know. I think one of the things to keep in mind is when you get involved with lighting at this level, you do have to pick up all this other miscellaneous garbage. There are several very good lighting companies out. Century Strand did all the lighting here in the university, in the Com Arts building. Colortran has an excellent television light package out. I have a friend of mine who works at a television studio who they got a whole Colortran package in, and they're amazing. They have some very nice features with their lights. We use a Colortran portable kit, traveling kit. I would have had it here, but we're doing a basketball game this evening, and it's over there for the basketball game. And this is essentially 2 instruments like this, and then 2 spots about this size. And they are focusable. The lights will move a little bit.
How do you light for the basketball game? You're shooting pretty much with available light, aren't you?
Yeah.
Then what do you use the lights for then?
Graphics, beginning and end, graphics. Halftime interviews, we punch it a little with one light, just one of these. We're also going to do the coaches show, the 15-minute pre-game show, and in that case we'll set up 2 or 3 lights in addition to...
You're lighting another area. You're not trying to light the basketball court.
No. No, we was portable light kit, we're lighting the basketball court.
How is
No.
the lighting over there as far as the conditions? Get a decent picture?
Yes, it's not a bad picture. They're mercury vapor lights, isn't that what they are? They take 5 minutes to warm up.
Mm-hmm.
They're not that they're not that bad once they get there. The problem is they age so quickly. We had new lamps put in last year. We did a couple of the games.
Right.
And we found out that we were going to do the games this year and ordered new lamps to be put in, and they haven't come in yet. We want to change them because the light level has dropped a little. Well, let's get some wine, and then we can take a look at that.
Video Images had a
You can cut the tape.
unit up there. You remember our last meeting? Did you see the, their dimmer unit they had? That's a little box.